Indeed, if numbers are any measure, enthusiasm for confrontation is dwindling here, and many student leaders have gone into hiding to avoid arrest. That is why this protest, which wound its way by the old Chairman Mao statue and the new memorial to the students killed in Beijing, was remarkable. But city officials would rather not have the people of Shanghai or the world see even a tiny army of students protesting government policy, which explains why the authorities began confronting journalists today.
The Shanghai police prevented CBS News from following the protesters further under the pretense that our driver had committed a traffic violation. The alleged offense, illegal parking, resulted in the police forcing us to go back to our hotel. It's an indication of the new tough line being taken by the authorities in Shanghai.
And tonight, the British television network producer was expelled from the country after taking pictures of this demonstration.
I was told basically to leave China immediately for activities that were incompatible with my tourist visa.
China is in the midst of change tonight, changing back to the way it was. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Shanghai.
One sidelight to all this, the China crackdown has brought the flow of U.S. investment dollars in China to a dead stop. We have more on that now from Bill Whitaker in Beijing.
The martial law troops patrolling the streets of Beijing today produced the desired effect, the snuffing out of the pro-democracy movement. But they also produced an undesired side effect, the snuffing out, at least for now, of American businesses. Until a week ago, this office complex was full of Americans doing business with the Chinese. Today, almost all the Americans are gone. Business has come to a standstill. In most offices, only a handful of Chinese staffers remain.
Where is everyone?
You mean the American people? They have gone to, some to the States, some to Hong Kong.
They've all evacuated.
Right.
Americans have invested almost $3.5 billion in China in the last 10 years. And while work continued today on this American-financed hotel in Beijing, investors say confidence in China was wiped out in one bloody night on Tiananmen Square.
I think probably it is a very unfortunate situation. It's going to discourage people from further investment.
No one, it seems, wants that. President Bush cut military sales to China, but hopes to keep commercial connections open. And while praising martial law yesterday, Deng Xiaoping made clear economic reforms will continue. With stability restored, let business return to normal, he seemed to say. The American business community is skeptical.
Business will take a second look. They'll be cautious, they'll be conservative, and they'll wait and try to let the dust settle.
Restoring American confidence won't be easy. Many companies worry association with this brutal regime could be bad for business. And today's calm Beijing streets mask a seething resentment capable of erupting again. No one knows with certainty the long-term business outlook, but it could be some time before American business people again join hands with China as it tries to steer a path to economic progress. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Beijing.
Thousands of South Korean students marking the anniversary of a pro-democracy protest there fought hand-to-hand combat with police today. The students also were protesting a ban on attending a youth festival in North Korea. A CBS News camera crew member was injured by a rock in the melee. Coming up, more on the China story and a look at how Tom Foley became the new Speaker of the House during a week of open ethics warfare in Washington.
This is a phone. This is a finger. This is how...
Thousands of Chinese students, Chinese Americans, and their supporters protested China's brutal crackdown in several cities in this country today. One demonstration took place on a very special island in New York City's harbor. More from Mark Phillips.
The message was the same at demonstrations around the country today, from Washington to Atlanta to Los Angeles. Anger at the brutal repression in China. Solidarity with the students.
Let them know they're not fighting alone.
Well, we have to stand up, be counted for.
Do you think you can have any effect?
I hope so, but I have to live with myself.
But there's a sense of frustration as well.
All the freedom fighters are now under arrest and rumors say under massacre, and we have to do something.
Something was done in Washington, where demonstrators laid flowers around a replica of the Statue of Liberty in front of the Chinese embassy. And in New York, where the Secretary of the Interior, Manuel Lujan, laid a wreath at the real statue. An eternal reminder, he said, of the forces in the world trying to snuff out the flame of liberty. Also in New York, a memorial service presided over by the Bishop of Shanghai, who had spent 30 years as a prisoner of the Chinese communists until he was released last year.
China! Freedom! China! Freedom!
The expressions of anger, even outrage, have taken the same forms here as the original demonstrations in China. Slogans, chants, and symbols. Frail weapons against the Chinese government with tanks and guns, and which seems to care not at all about world public opinion. For demonstrators here, protest is easy.
Yeah, so we don't fear anything here. They are facing the guns and tanks.
But for Chinese students here, these demonstrations will have a direct effect on their lives.
If I go back to China, once I step off the plane, they will arrest me.
At an earlier rally in Washington, during the heady days of protest in China, there were gestures of support from within the embassy building. There were none today. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Washington.
Some unusual fallout from the intense scrutiny that the world press has been focusing on Beijing. Today, nearly 1,000 Turkish Americans demonstrated peacefully outside the CBS News Bureau in Washington, asking for similar coverage of what they called human rights atrocities against ethnic Turks in Bulgaria. The Bulgarian embassy said tonight the government there is trying to resolve the problem. The crackdown in China is being watched with special concern in Hong Kong, which is scheduled to become part of China in 1997. Even before the current trouble, an increasing number of women from Hong Kong had been coming to the United States as part of an elaborate plan to make certain their children become U.S. citizens. John Blackstone reports.
Rebecca Chow is on a vacation in San Francisco that will change the life of her unborn child. Rebecca is 6 months pregnant. Her home is in Hong Kong, but she will stay in San Francisco until her baby is born.
I want my child born here to be a citizenship of America.
That's because in 1997, the citizens of Hong Kong will all become citizens of China when Britain's lease on its colony runs out and the government in Beijing takes control. The events of the past week have confirmed Hong Kong's worst fears about its future rulers.
Now in China, the policy is so terrible. Most of the Hong Kong people, they want to move. For me, I think I don't have any chance to move. And so I want my child, he had a chance.
Her child will get the chance because any child born in the United States automatically becomes a citizen. Nobody counts the babies born to visiting foreign parents. But to give some idea of the numbers, officials from Hong Kong say there are 3,000 more American citizens resident there than there were just 2 years ago. And obstetricians in San Francisco have seen a steady increase in pregnant women from Hong Kong coming here to give birth.
I think it's the way, indeed, of looking for democracy for the next generation.
But democracy has a price. The expectant parents do not usually have medical insurance. And the bills for doctors and hospitals can easily run to $5,000 or $6,000. The extended vacation to thousands more.
You know Chinese. I think it's not as important as what is going to happen to us, but to our kids and to our next generation.
Nothing is more important to Rebecca Chow than her child's future. That's why she waits, far from family and friends, while her husband stays at work in Hong Kong. Her sacrifice will give her no special immigration rights, but her child will have an insurance policy for the future, an American passport. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
One person was killed by a tornado that hit in the Philadelphia area with 120-mile-an-hour winds last night. Residents today cleaned up damage, which included collapsed walls, blown-out windows, and fallen trees. Canaveral tonight, the Air Force successfully launched its Delta II rocket. This was the 6th attempt at launching. The rocket is to put into orbit a navigation satellite to determine locations of U.S. military units. President Bush says he is sticking with Lee Atwater, the man he picked to head the Republican National Committee, even though Democrats say Atwater was behind what they called efforts to smear the new House Speaker, Tom Foley. But the president also conceded this week that attack politics from all sides may have finally gone too far. That's our Washington Notebook tonight. The new cutthroat atmosphere in Washington. Where is it leading?
We've got to do better. The ugliness of this climate is bad.
There is no question that the swords are out on Capitol Hill, and people and partisans on both sides are now trying to spear the other people.
Politics has always been a rough and tumble affair, but as these last tumultuous weeks on Capitol Hill have underlined, there seems to be a new viciousness about it.
There's an evil wind blowing in the halls of Congress today that is reminiscent of the Spanish Inquisition. It's replacing comity and compassion with malice and hatred.
The charges and countercharges that brought the resignation of House Speaker Jim Wright left a bitterness seldom seen on Capitol Hill. And with it came a flood of rumors about his successor, Tom Foley. He was accused in one Republican National Committee memo of being out of the liberal closet. And because the memo compared Foley's record to that of Barney Frank, an openly homosexual congressman, it was widely interpreted as an effort to question Foley's sexual orientation. So it was that the new speaker found it necessary this week to deny that he was a homosexual.
And these charges, of course, are not true, and I've repeated that, and that's the end of it.
Many observers believe the current bitterness is the natural outgrowth of the take-no-prisoners, highly negative attack strategy that marked the 1988 presidential campaign. But whatever the cause, Washington has become a place where politicians in both parties are feeling more and more uncomfortable.
The Congress of the United States is like a war zone right now, where you don't know when the next bomb is going to drop.
And with modern technology, the bombs are delivered with laser-like speed.
Today, the impact is immediate. It is national, in some cases global. Reputations can be destroyed overnight. People constantly look over their shoulders now to find out what the next leaker is going to put out about him or her.
When the leaks about Foley backfired on the Republicans, there was bipartisan agreement the rough stuff had finally gone too far. And Mark Gooden, the Republican Party official who wrote the memo about Foley, was forced out. But don't take that to mean there'll be no more anonymous leaks.
As long as we have politicians who love to talk, as long as there are grudges and policy disputes in government, there are going to be leaks.
And, says longtime press observer William Snyder, if things do become more civil, don't mark it up to high-mindedness alone.
Both sides would like to say enough is enough, but they're not going to stop doing it until they're convinced it doesn't work.
And until this week, such tactics did seem to work. They worked like a charm. But the Republican memo produced such bipartisan revulsion, it could cause politicians of both parties to have second thoughts about just how effective negative campaigning is going to be from here on in.
You're looking at a home fire that never happened. Because Liberty Mutual Insurance continually works to prevent fires, even to giving our homeowners special discounts when they install smoke detectors. Caring for people is why America believes in liberty.
Lovely evening.
America believes in liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Sunday Silence was silenced this evening in his bid to win horse racing's Triple Crown. Easy Goer, who finished second to Sunday Silence in the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, won the Belmont Stakes. Dave Johnson called the stretch run.
And down the stretch they come. It's Easy Goer with a furlong to the finish in front by 5. Sunday Silence appears beaten. The Voyager is third. Down the stretch, and it's Easy Goer with Cat Day winning the Belmont and denying Sunday Silence the Triple Crown.
Owning a racehorse would be a lot of fun, but we have some shopping tips tonight if you have a lot of money but don't want to spend it on racehorses. From reporter Aaron Hayes comes this suggestion: buy a nice desk.
Say you're looking for a desk, something nice for the den, something antique, solid, that stood the test of time. You can always come here to Christie's Auction House in New York City. They have a very nice desk.
Great workmanship.
There are only 2 others like it in the world.
This is the granddaddy of them all. This is the piece of furniture that if you wanted bragging rights on your block, this would give them to you.
$4,500, $4,500, $4,800, $5,000.
It's a nice desk, and it should be. Built in 1762 in Rhode Island, it's been in the Brown family, as in Brown University, all this time.
$15,000, $16,000, $17,000 now. It's $17,000, $18,000.
People have been taking this desk very seriously, and Christie's expected it to bring serious money. How much did they think you'd need to be making to take it home?
We would be talking, I would think, a minimum of $400 million.
Annual income.
Annual.
20,000, 22 with me now, 24,000.
And if you could afford it, what would you do with it? Use it as a desk?
No, of course not. Well, if you think of it as a sculpture, will it help?
Maybe. Maybe not.
Why not use it? Why not write on it? Why not pay your bills sitting on it? Feel like $1 million.
$1 million? Not today.
7 million, 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, all done for $11 million, 11 million. For you, sir, 11 million.
By the time we got a bargain, I expected to go a little higher than that.
A bargain, he thinks, even with shipping and handling, bringing it to a cool $12.1 million. Aaron Hayes, CBS News, New York.
And that's the news. Later tonight on West 57th, Steve Croft will investigate the biggest baby broker in the country. And tomorrow on Sunday morning, Charles Kuralt has the first extensive television interview with former President Ronald Reagan. That's our report for tonight. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York. Good night.
After you've produced the yearly report in record time, after you've made order out of paperwork chaos, after you've turned the slideshow into a colorful part of your winning proposal and seen productivity become top priority, maybe after all that you'll know why Canon is the most popular copier in America. From personal to color laser copying, the choice is Canon. Call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
People in Paris.
Travel to L.A. to battle the Lakers on their star-studded home turf. The finals, Game 3, tomorrow. Rock on!
This is CBS.
Next.